Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Strawberry Sundaes podcast. We have an amazing guest on today. John, how are we?
Doing fantastic, mate. Thank you so much for having me on.
Good stuff. For people that are watching this, if you just want to go into a bit of detail about yourself and introduce your content.
Of course, bro. Of course. So my name is John, otherwise known, I guess my alias is Ynbro. My content's in the COD gaming side of things. I compete, playing plenty of tournaments, so on and so forth. But that's mainly where my background comes from, competitive COD. Playing in tournaments regularly, all that kind of jazz. I'm kind of spicing my content up at the moment, varying across Vanguard and stuff like that. And kind of taking a bit of a backseat until the new Warzone's out, but that's mainly where my content focus is at the moment, Warzone. And in terms of the other side of my content, I run two businesses alongside streaming, which blessed. Blessed is the only thing that comes to my mind, bro. In terms of the two businesses that I run a Young Entrepreneurs Network, which is basically about changing lives and businesses within the business world and providing every entrepreneur with a new revolutionary way of thinking when it comes to how I believe a network should be set up. So it runs like a support network. We have focus groups, we have workshops, we have sponsors that provide discounts and offers to the members. We have hot seats, power chairs, which without going into detail of this shit, YN is literally just there's so many different pillars to it, and it's only going to continue to get built upon again and again. And then my second company that literally just launched is a clothing brand, Young and Lazy, repping at the moment, this wee Pablo. Young and Lazy was a brand.
You got to show us the full drip. Come on, I know you've already shown it me, but
if I turn around and shit, bro, it just makes me look a bit. Wait, can I even?
There we go. There we go.
Sorted. The clothing brand's called Young and Lazy. It was based upon, I'm sure everyone in the game world will relate to the saying that we're all young and lazy in terms of the new generation of entrepreneurs, which I'm classing it all as, because end of the day, man, we monetize a brand, we play video games for a living, we do all this stuff that I know when I was growing up, I'd point at people tell me there was no way I was going to make it happen within gaming and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I've had a really good support system with my mum and stuff like that, who really supported me in gaming from the offset. Whereas I know a lot of people didn't really have that, and they were labelled as young and lazy, not wanting to go out all the time, wanting to just stay in the house and play games. And kind of tying that in as well with the new generation of entrepreneurs that are coming from like the crypto space, NFTs, some things that I've been heavily invested in over the last few months. People that I'm pretty sure there's a Santan Dave lyric in it, and there's so much crypto in the world you can get rich in a day. That's literally the crypto world. Some of the shit that happens over there's absolutely mental, and it's just about basically creating a brand that allows all these different factions, we could say, to come together. Entrepreneurs, crypto specialists, even the new generation of footballers, man. You know, footballers don't go and play pool after games and chill out and all that kind of thing. They come back and they bash COD, in which you're going to be seeing a lot of them bastards coming on board with Young and Lazy, in which we literally just announced today. Declan Gallagher, who's a Scotland international. We announced Megan yesterday, who's one of the best female content creators out there, and she's going to continue to grow. When's this actually going to go up, Paddy?
This will be up tonight, so it's the 21st, so yeah, it'll be the 21st.
Right, okay. I can't drop any more then. You just
no
have to follow Twitter.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
So everyone that's watching, make sure that you obviously go follow the socials and keep an eye on those. Like I say, two huge announcements already there for such a brand that's obviously you've just brought in. So that's an excellent start there. Let's go right back to the start though. Sort of where gaming sort of started for yourself.
All the way back to the beginning. You know, I used to sit and watch my big cousin sit and play Gears of War. That was like my weekend, and I mean it. Like I used to literally go to my grand's on a Friday, and I would ask my mum, beg my mum to stay at my grand's to sit and watch my big cousin sit and play Gears of War. And my cousin Daniel used to be in clans and do sniper wars and all this mad shit. And I literally used to sit from Friday till Sunday, if my mum would let me, literally just sit and watch him. Like I wouldn't even play. Like, I'd literally sit and watch him. I finally got to start playing on like this little like secondary console we had. It was just like a standard like Xbox like 360 that Daniel had spare, and I'd sit and play things like Viva Pinata and all these dead games that were just they were pointless. Like they were literally just pointless. We know like no multiplayer, no nothing, mate. I'd literally just sit and just fuck around and just watch him pretty much. And then eventually, when I turned, I think it was 10, my mum bought me my own Xbox 360. She got me, Xbox Live at the time, and I started playing Gears of War 2. Was my first game. Gears of War 2 was the very beginning, mate, and I was curfewed. I was only on for a certain amount of hours per day, but I just couldn't get enough of it, mate. Constantly, man. I started playing World at War. I started playing FIFA, and I was kind of like across the full the those three was kind of what I varied across. Played a wee bit of Halo here and there, but in terms of like when my actual competitive journey started was Black Ops 2. I had a close mate, Smithy, who some of the OGs will remember Smithy from back in the day, but Smithy was like just this nuts COD player, and I was at school with him at the time, and he was telling me we must have connected through some sort of way through COD or whatever it was. I remember we were playing pubs, and he was like, "You ever seen this? Like, you ever seen like competitive and stuff like that?" And I was like, "Nah, no idea what you're talking about." Started playing League Play, so started to understand League Play on there, and then I started watching competitive pros like Parasite, Killer, Karma, all these like older pros now.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with it, man. I just ended up grinding it in my summer. Jack, all the way at Smithy, used to come over to my gaff, mate, and we'd sit back to back in my room with two setups like this at each side of the room. We'd sit and play 2v2 GBs. We'd just grind out the game like mental, man. Scrim, the full shebang, like it was just nuts. And I attended my first event in Call of Duty Ghosts, and then from there, just never looked back, mate, to be honest.
You see, you're mentioning obviously a lot of the games back in the day. I mean, those sorts of games, they don't make them like that anymore. Like you say, you got Ghost, you got World at War, COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, all those games there, Black Ops, the originals, unreal. And like you say, that's sort of the same time I would have got involved as well. Like watching, especially, and like you say, Killer and things like that. I mean, I don't think these youngsters know that the OGs, do you know what I mean?
I love the
Like you
people
say,
who watch Killer nowadays, bro.
Karma. Yeah, I mean, Killer's still knocking about. I think he still streams on Twitch, and he gets a lot of the OGs go in and show him some love. But yeah, I don't think these youngsters, that back in the day was different.
Yeah.
So like you say, obviously Warzone is your main sort of content bar, your two companies. So do you want to just talk about how sort of Warzone came about for yourself?
I mean, I was kind of just due to COVID, mate, to be honest. I was very fortunate to kind of be where I am, and COVID forced my hand massively. And it's weird because there's a lot of shit things came out of COVID, obviously, but in terms of like, some amazing things came out of COVID for a lot of people that I know that have managed to go full time in content. One of them's like Louis CM, for example. Louis actually fucking blew up completely off the back of COVID, and it was the same kind of story for me at the time. I was at uni. I was working part time as a waiter, and I hated uni, mate. Hated my job. I had my first company when I was 19, which was a custom sneakers business with two of my friends. At that time, my mum had just started her first company as well. My mum's in like the debt collection and credit solutions field, so she provides like all the legalities within business. Your terms and conditions, privacy notices, contracts, all that kind of stuff. And around about that time that I'd started that kind of company, she started hers. I kind of watched my mum go through the journey that she went on. To where she is now, where she's doing phenomenally. But when I look back, when it kind of came to like when I was studying accountancy at university, and then also when I was like working as a waiter, man, like it was fucking peak, bro. Like it was actually peak. Like whenever I'm having a shit day, bro, or anything, and it's very rare that happens in this like now. But if I'm having a shit day, I just literally humble myself through perspective. I reflect on like where I used to be and where I am now, and what I actually do for a living, because I play games and I work with high performers for a living. Like that's literally my life, mate. Like, and I literally used to turn up to a fucking 10-hour shift, get paid pittance, have to travel an hour in, hour back, sitting fucking waiting on buses in the freezing cold, all the shit that people probably endure right now, and I literally get to do it all from my desk. and make a living playing games and stuff like that, which is absolutely bonkers, man. And that's why it's kind of hard. It's something I'll easily touch on, but and I know I've kind of went round your question, but I'll come back to answer your question in the first place. But it's an interesting topic, man, because you see a lot of people, moaning and stuff on the timeline, whining on the timeline, and I think to be honest, bro, some of them just lack serious like perspective, man, to actually reflect
Mm.
on what it really is to go out there and like work work, quote unquote, rather than just sit and play a game for a living. And I think like it's a topic I could speak on for days, mate. To be honest, and it's something that perspective for me is like the key perspective and gratitude. To be where I
Yeah.
am today, but where it actually started was when COVID hit in March time. Warzone had came out like maybe a month before or whatever, and I was playing it anyways, having a bit of fun with it and stuff like that with just a few of my mates. And at that time, I'd kind of came away from competitive COD on Black Ops 4, so I didn't play much of Blackout. I attended my last event on Black Ops 4, which was Vegas. We played shit, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm just going to take a step back. Focus on uni at the time,
Yeah.
because I'd just got into second year at uni, and it also like I had this idea that it was YN. So YN was burning prior to that, but I was
Mm.
always like in limbo about starting it, how to start it, how to go about it. Um, and it came to when COVID hit in March, all uni. I'd actually decided in January that I wasn't going back to uni, but I had to still partially attend to make sure I got my SAS, for example. And I also had to make sure that I had an actual idea of what I wanted to do if I was decided not to go back to uni.
Mm.
In which, from January onwards, I didn't attend a seminar or a lecture. And then March, when COVID hit, everything went online anyways. So then they couldn't keep track of attendance and everything was just haywire anyways. My work obviously got furloughed as well. And then I just literally had a portion of savings because studying accountancy, I knew how to manage money, manage expenses, and it was easy to watch companies that succeed and companies that fail. And 90% of the time, it's just due to a poor management of debts or expenses. And for
Mm.
me, like, because I was young, I didn't have any debts apart from like student loan debt or whatever it was, which people like. It's not like it's a like a bank loan or anything like that. It's fucking trillions of student loan debt. Um, so in terms of, like I just understood how to manage money on a level that I could literally live off like the bare minimum, and so I had like my savings that I'd saved up from basically nothing, bought a PC. I then made a commitment or a goal and a target that I had to get to a
Mm.
4 KD on Warzone before I started streaming. So I was like putting it off and putting it off, and then eventually I just started streaming, bro, which would have been it was May 17th. It was May 17th, 2020 was the first day I went live. Um, and from there, bro, that's where it all
That's
changed, to be
crazy.
honest.
That's crazy. I think one thing that really that I can relate to there was when you mentioned about you know um the perspective with people
Yeah.
working obviously full time or working part time as well as trying to make this sort of goal of the content creation sort of a living. Um, People are, especially the younger generation, are sort of blessed to be coming out of sort of like you say either university or college or you know being at that age where they can afford to throw everything at it. The
Yeah.
responsibilities are a lot less. Um, but like you say, for someone like yourself, I think I might have said this saying wrong, so you might have to correct me. But
That's it.
um, regarding when you're enjoying the work that you have, you never the work. You'll never feel like you've worked another day. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that shows with you. You say that like you enjoy, you know, instead of waiting in the cold or going to wait at tables where you don't want to be there, and you sort of you're clock watching, you're looking at everything else in life. Now you're just enjoying yourself. You're being able to, like you say, game. You're able to focus on your two businesses on the side of things. There's a lot of like I can tell that you're grateful with that.
Yeah.
And I suppose that shows especially within the content with the hard work that you put in as well. and you're obviously reaping the rewards from it as well. Like you say, we've had two huge announcements
Hmm.
with the clothing brand. Um, so yeah, I think that this is all rewarded for yourself, like you say, for such a small amount of time. The growth that you had is incredible, absolutely
Nah,
incredible.
it's much appreciated, mate. I think like in terms of the mindset behind, because YN and streaming, I went 50-50 on my time with both of those. So my mornings from 6 a.m. until it was 6 a.m. until 12. Then YN started becoming more and more demanding. So it was 6 a.m. until 1, and then I'd have like an hour lunch, and then I'd start streaming. And like every day without fail, like you're talking like 12 plus hours, like without fail, like with ease as well. Like, and if I
Mm,
didn't do 12 hours, it was like, what am I doing, man? Like pure
yeah.
slacking, like get my shit together, man. And to begin with, man, I streamed, and from May 17th through to I think it was like around about February time. So I started working on YN in October of that year. So October 2020, I started working on the foundations, working very closely with my mum, working very closely with her business coach, and making sure that I had the foundation in place to launch in December.
Mm,
So from December onwards, like I had that strict schedule of 6 a.m. until 12, 12 until 5, and then night time it was I'd either pick up the slack on either or of them. So if I'd had a shit stream, then I'd relax and then I'd start up another stream and I'd just go for another couple more hours. If I had
mm,
a lot of stuff to do with YN, then I would relax for a couple hours and I'd just work on YN throughout the night. So it was something that, like, to think that a 10-hour shift as a waiter was like the most mentally draining shit whenever I was there. Like I hated it, man. Like I just despised it. To like when you're working on your own thing and kind of like you said, like when you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. It's always a purpose behind like the the actual thing, like how you want to impact the world or like how you want to impact people. In terms of like kindness or empathy or whatever it may be, building something that is bigger than yourself. And for me, like doing that on both fronts with YN and now Young and Lazy, and on the side of it with content creation and the kind of community I built on Twitch, making sure that I won't only change their lives through the stream, I'll change their lives through YN. And YN isn't just for entrepreneurs, it's for aspiring entrepreneurs. I truly believe that I could take anyone, mate, and drop them into the pool of YN and their life would change. Like,
mm.
and for me, that's like it could like leave you potentially speechless because I'm like when I actually think about the impact that I want to make, and like for like my community and the people that have watched me day in and day out, there obviously is going to come a time where I want to make YN a global network. I want it to be
Mm.
everywhere. I want Young and Lazy to be a global brand. I want them to grow beyond belief. There is going to come a time where streaming just isn't going to be able to be a daily occurrence.
Yeah.
In which my whole community, I'm going to make sure that there's a place for each and every one of them to actually funnel through and to have that chance at mingle with high performers to the point where their mindset can change because that's how my life changed.
Mm.
I had a very close friend, Scott, that was his mindset was fucking levels above everyone, mate. At like 15 years old, like he wanted a house in Florida where his back garden was a beach. He wanted a Nissan GTR. He wanted a jet ski shop. You know, he wanted fucking a temporary apartment where he'd walk out onto the balcony and look onto like Orlando and all this crazy shit at 15, mate. And at that time, I was being told to go and get a joinery apprenticeship. In which,
Mm.
by the way, there's nothing wrong with a joinery apprenticeship. Anyone that's out there and watching it, but at that time, my aspirations compared to his were just completely different. And rather than running away from it, I just started asking myself why I was thinking the way he was and why he was thinking the way he was, and understanding why he had these big goals and why I had much smaller goals. And there's a book that I've preached about on my stream about a million times over. And anyone that's watching this, if you're not a big reader, until this book, I'd never read any books. I'd never had a book in my shelf or nothing like Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harvey Eker. That book changed my life completely because it's about money, but it relates to every aspect of your life. So to give you a bit of background, how much time have we got by the way, Harry? Because I could end up rambling for
We've
days here,
got
mate.
we've got as long as you want.
I think
As long as you want.
it's so good being the guest, mate. To like be way in, but it's brutal because I just kick my feet up for I just chill. By the way, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, mate. When I read that book, It basically explains T. Harvey Eker was, and this doesn't ruin it for anyone that's in the book. It was just going to give you more of a incentive to want to go on and actually read it. T. Harvey Eker started multiple companies, mate, and they all were amazing ideas, like phenomenal ideas. But no matter what, within months or within the first year or whatever it may be, they always failed. No matter how well they did to begin with, and no matter what, he had a company that started incredibly well, better than all his other companies. And no matter what, even within that company, he ended up back in his mum and dad's basement, staying because his company had failed once again. And he went upstairs, and his dad was having a poker night. And one of his kind of one of his dad's rich friends was sitting, and he asked him. His rich dad was like, "Oh, like what you doing back, Harv? What's going on? Blah blah blah." And he was explaining it to him, and he was like, "Harvey, you have all these amazing ideas, but where do you feel like it's going wrong?" And everything was about marketing, industry, or like business idea, where they went wrong essentially in his eyes. And this guy literally turned around to T.R. Baker and just said, "Have you ever thought about, rather than studying the market, rather than studying business, rather than studying industries, you study how the rich people think?" And from that point onwards, bro, his life completely changed because he just started studying how the millionaire mindset, how rich people thought compared to working class or middle class. And from there, that's where his whole life shifted completely. And he basically explains in that book how the rich people think and how you can change your mind to working in the same way through verbal programming.
Mad.
So, that's all nuts,
That's
bro.
boggled me. That has. That,
It's nuts, bro.
that's
It's nuts,
yeah.
man.
I think
But yeah.
like you say though, there is different times for different people, isn't there? Like you say, for some, the joinery apprenticeship, coming straight out of school and jumping into that might be something that they want to crack on with. And like you say, a lot of people come out of those sorts of apprenticeships and go on to, own their own company and then end up,
Yep.
5 years down the line having, 40 people work for them.
Yep.
But at some point in that journey, that aspiration will come to say, I can do my own company. I can have people work for me. And like you say, in the different mindsets, like you say, it will always come at some point where it'll click for someone to be like, do you know what? This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And like you say, I believe that's what you're helping with to make sort of those aspirations become sort of happen. And the first couple of steps with the sort of YN network that you've got, and sort of build those bridges and help people make the first steps.
For sure, mate. Because like within business, man, like when I first came out of business, like it is very like the stereotype of business is like real when you first come in. It's like blue collar shit, like people just cutting about in suits, and like it's very professional, and like there's not very much profanity. Like then you go to like networking events, and it's shake people's hands, do pitches, like it's all about like how much money's in the room, how much business can refer to each other and stuff like that. And in reality, man, like far better relationships are built upon something that isn't around like business itself. And I learned that when I first came into business, because I conformed with the norm to begin with, just because I was unsure of the space and kind of how it was navigating. I always kind of dipped my toes in just to see how people treat whatever it may be, business, streaming, content creation, whatever it may be, crypto for now, for example, NFTs and stuff like that. I'll always dip my toe in and I'll just watch. And while I'm watching, I'll conform a bit. And then after I've conformed, I'll put my authentic self at the forefront of everything that I do. And within business, that happened. It took me probably much longer. Probably took me about 6 months before I started really doing what I wanted to do within business. And I started YN doing networking events, mate, and that wasn't what I wanted to do with YN. I had this massive ecosystem around changing lives and businesses and all these different pillars and all this mad shit that I was going to do, mate. And I'd conformed to begin with. And it can be pure scary as well when you come into a new field or a new space and you don't know many people. And that's another thing, man. Like I was fortunate because my mum was already in business. She'd built phenomenal relationship. Our business coach Paula, who I done an episode with on YN. She's a 7-figure coach. She's worked with some of the greatest. And like she was offering me things like one monthly coaching session. And that monthly coaching session at the beginning was more than enough for me because it would get my mind firing on all cylinders for the rest of the month. And some of the tips, some of the questions she would ask me to get me really, thought provoking. And I also started to realise, man, see when you got people that are willing to do anything for you, they don't care about the money, they don't care about anything in return, they just want to help you. Like, they're the most powerful people to have within your network. And you build such great rapport and trust with them to the point where even though they're giving you something because they just want to help you, because you know where their intent lies, you'll do anything to give it back to them in abundance. And I realised that within business, that the more people wanted to give to me and help me because I was my mum's son, the more I wanted to do as much as I could for them. So I leveraged YEN, brought on sponsors, for example, where the sponsors were giving me, I got like a website, I got like just kind of like throughout I brought in like a 5-a-side team almost of sponsors, and they were all elite in business. I had Paula, that was a business coach. I had Andrea Martin, who was like digital media production. I also had my mum as well. We had a team, David Plant, who worked for Peninsula, which is like the biggest HR company in the UK. Like, we had this just crazy teammate that was like, and they all just wanted to help me in any way in which they could. And when I realised like the power of that and having those kind of people within our network, for me it was like, right, cool, I need to build this within YEN, where everyone that comes on board has the same mindset of abundance, helping people, giving as much as they could, to help make sure that everyone wins. And I think that's another thing back within the game side of things, man. People feel like there's like a real shortage of opportunity. There's a real shortage of money. There's a real shortage of ideas. There's no shortage of any of that shit, man. It's just within your own mind, your own limitations, and that's like my attitude, man. I've had people message me and they'll go, John, what is YEN? I even had a guy message me last week, man. What is YEN? And it turns out he was doing an event for young entrepreneurs as well, and he was asking me like what YEN was, and I actually stripped him from start to finish about what YEN was, every single little intricate, every single pillar, and I sent it to him, and like in my head, like he could be a competitor, but like doesn't matter. Like he's not me, and the abundance of opportunity that could give him to push his company forward, like that's what's more important to me than like try to corner off a market for young people, man. Every young person should have access to some form of network that is built for them. And that's the thing, man. YN isn't just built for young entrepreneurs. It's it's young because it's a young revolutionary way of thinking, because it's me that's driving it forward. So yeah, so interesting. But I could ramble about business for days, that's for sure.
I think that sort of sets you apart from everybody else, and especially what sort of caught my eye is the fact that how your mindset is so, like you say, you're not going to cut a corner to stop someone else succeeding. You're not going to cut an avenue for someone else to succeed. Your mindset is, that's brilliant that they succeed as well. I'm going to get there regardless of what, I want to help support those, but I know myself, I will be successful in this side of my industry and this profession. And that's such a good mindset to have, especially like you say with the content creation side of things. So many people cut off avenues and will refuse to help others, and later down the line that will affect them, because like you say, that might be a case of that person actually overlapping them, so to speak, within that system, and then you're at a disadvantage. And like you say, it's just the mindset. The mindset is unreal. Do you think that having sort of that support network, like with your mum, and things like that, do you think that's had that positive effect on you to actually push with the business side of things?
I would say yeah, definitely, because when I look at like, I hear it from a lot of people, mate. To be honest, people want to start businesses, or they want to go full time on content creation or whatever it may be, and maybe because like they're still in the same household as their parents or whatever it may be, they feel like they need to conform with whatever their parents think. And it's a shame, man, because a lot of people have big goals and aspirations, and they can't put the full time in, and that's what I'm referring to with the streaming side of things in YEN and Young and Lazy and stuff. For me, like at one point, something is going to have to give way in order for me to move forward with the impact that I want to make, for example. So, like with a lot of people, if they had the correct support network around them, they would realise that there's no limits to what they can achieve and that they can really do anything as long as they, if you can find something that you're incredibly passionate about, that's my first question whenever I meet anyone that's like, I wish I'd done something like you did. And I'm like, well, what do you love doing? And usually, like, they'll go into this really deep spiral of all these different things that they love, and I'm like, you can find a way to monetize that. Like, you'll never work a day in your life, and you'll literally be so happy doing it. And it's like, for me, man, like, see, like, working with high performers, mate, seeing how their mind works, like through YN, kind of building that actual network up and having it as a vetted network as well. And I think that's what a lot of people lack within business too. People become so money hungry that they'll take any clients they can. For me, like, I had low prices to begin with because I didn't understand what my value was. They're higher now, but they're still nowhere near the price that they will be in the future. And the reason why that is because the price of joining a network that is going to allow you to grow in every aspect should be priceless in your own mind. And through that, money, like the monetary aspect, like, money is just commitment, mate. That's all it is. And I think people forget that too. People see money as, like, any time that someone will invest in themselves, it's always an expense. When in fact it's an investment. And with that investment, you put commitment on the table. So, for example, if I turn into you, Harry, and I said, right, cool, every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I need you on a call at 4 p.m. and you paid me 20 quid. And then something else came up on a Wednesday at 4 p.m. and you paid that guy 100 quid for whatever that may be. Because your monetary commitment is far higher elsewhere, you will commit to the commitment that requires more money. The same with time as well. So, like, with time being of the essence, and a lot of people have really busy lives. Everyone has a busy life in their own head. And when it comes to your time, it's all about just like what your priorities lie as, and that's why I'm not having a dig at anyone if they ever say to me, for example, within business, they'll say, I see so much value in what you're doing at YN, John, but I just don't have the time. Which basically means that they don't see it as a high enough value for them to prioritize that in their, in their life. Which is that's down to me, because the role of every salesperson, and when you're starting a business, you're doing all these different things, doing things that you've never done before, and that's the thing. None of us are ever taught to be business owners, man. So when you're selling, like, the value needs to be in front of the cost always, and as long as you're continually eliminating their pain points, they'll find a way in which YN or whatever business it is that anyone's running will align with them, and they'll see the enough value to commit to it. And the monetary aspect, man, it's just solely commitment on the table to make sure that you attend, and when you do attend, you give it 100% effort, and when you give it 100% effort, you get the results. And for me, man, like, having that support network around me with my mum, kind of going back to your question, like, my close mate Scott as well, like I was explaining with his goals and aspirations, seeing how his mind worked, and from there, when I first kind of came into business, having my mum's network around me, that was like my thought process. I was like, everyone should have this, man. Like, everyone should come into business and have a network around them that just wants the best of them. And there's so many networks in business, bro, that you turn up, mate, and it's just sharks, man. You're getting circled, mate. People just want your dough, man. Your new blood, and they want your dough, mate, in their pocket ASAP. And that's kind of the stereotype behind business, and it is true for the most part, man. But if you can find the correct network for you, which with that, what I'm creating with YN, I want that to be a global network where everyone can access it. That's where lives will change. And anyone that studied, you ever looked at Naval Ravikant, Harry?
Haven't.
Naval is like, he'd be top on the A list to just go and have a wee snoop around him, Harry, mate. He could change your life just through one tweet or one podcast episode or whatever it may be. Naval has a phenomenal theory of everyone on this planet becoming rich. And rather than me going into great depth into that, I'd advise anyone to just go and watch it. It's on the Joe Rogan podcast. that never I've got done with him, mate. Definitely link it below for them, Harry, man, because it is nuts, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone deserves to have a correct support network around them, mate. And my mum was definitely a catalyst, man. Anyone that supports you, man, see when you've got goals and aspirations that are different, challenging the norm, or just something that's completely out of the blue, man, and you have people that are supporting you through that, like, those people should be cherished at every opportunity.
Wow. I mean, I should have brought a notebook and a pen because so mind blown, absolutely mind blown.
Oh, you got the recording anyways, mate. Just chilling.
But yeah, I think I keep saying it time and time again. The mindset that you have is incredible, and I think like you've said, I think when you train the mindset in a correct way and you're enjoying and have those aspirations and you're seeing yourself move forward, it's such a positive feeling. Um, and you can tell, like I keep saying to yourself, you can tell that you're proud of what you're doing, but you're also reaping the rewards of it. You know, you're like you say with the clothing line, you've had two huge announcements already in such a short period of time. The streaming side of things, you know, that's a short time, you know, considering people have been doing it for years and years and years, and it's all about mindset in my eyes. You're
Yeah,
with that positive mindset, you don't have that day where you wake up and think, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have one day off here because you don't want to wake up and think that. You wake up and you think, when am I starting?
yeah,
Like you say, those 10-hour days don't feel like 10-hour days. The time rushes, like, and you feel like, oh, you know, where has that gone?
yeah,
Literally. And I think that's important for everyone, like you say, that's watching. That when you find that, because you will find that in whatever field, whether that's content creation, whether that's business, whether that's, you know, doing something completely different outside of everything, you know, like you say, joinery, it could be, you know, owning your own company there.
yeah,
Once you find that and you find that motivation for it, the rewards from it are endless,
yeah.
endless. Um,
Couldn't agree more.
we'll go to the sort of last part of the questions here. So we're going to go to the best content moment to date. Now, this we will go for your content side of things for Warzone, but then also sort of we'll link it in with the YN network as well, and then also your young and lazy stuff as
Love that, mate. Well, we'll start off with Warzone since that's like the primary, like the streaming side of things and stuff like that. I think for me, probably, I started to get opportunities within tournaments after being out the competitive scene for quite some time and coming in and kind of making a bit of an impact. You know, playing kind of the Twitter tournaments and stuff like that, and then starting to get invites to like rivals, World Series or Warzone and stuff like that. But I'd probably say, because it's got to come from a competitive aspect for me. I mean, I've played with some, phenomenal creators like that. I used to watch a lot growing up, so a lot of them will probably have a good staple. When I reflect on it, playing with people like Sprat, playing with people like Syndicate,
well.
run it with like Benny Central, for example, and all the kind of, I mean, even some of the content creators that we are witnessing like over the last year blow up, man. Like Louis CM's blowing up. Lennon, for example, Lennon was blowing up as well. All crazy good content creators, and for me, it's got to come from a competitive aspect though, and I think that's probably the Fnatic tourney. We should have won that, and I don't look at that as something that it was a big staple for me, Billy, because we were sitting first until the last game, and we just shit the bed in the last game,
Yeah.
mate, and we ended up finishing third, I think it was. In which I think it was like 6k or something we won in total, which got split between the four of us. And at that time, I hadn't made much off of gaming. I was getting like obviously like how much you make through Twitch, whatever that may be, based on your subs.
Yeah.
And I had a very generous community, but I hadn't made anything properly really off COD, apart from little tourneys here and there. And even though that was only X amount, like it still felt incredible, and it also kind of gave me clarity as well. At that time, I remember thinking, I'm running a business alongside this shit, man. Like, imagine I was full time. Like, imagine I was 100% committed to that, for example. Like, and I think that's the thing as well, man. See, when you're splitting your time with shit, like you start to realize, like your goals that you have for 5 to 10 years, like let's say 10 years from now, like goals I have for YEN, they're the goals that I want to hit with the time that I have just now, for example, where I spend half my time on it. Like imagine I spent all my time on it. That 10-year goal would become a 5-year goal. And it's like, I think that's what, for me, in the back of my head, it was almost like my mindset was rock solid, but at the same time, it was like, I'm not putting in as much time as everyone else. And for us in that Fnatic tournament where we should have won it, it was almost like in my head, like, I can still fucking do this. Like, I don't need the same time that everyone else is putting in, then I can still move forward, I can still compete, and so on and so forth. And I think as well, when we lost, I remember like the feeling after it was just awful, mate. Like I was just downstairs. Bex, my girlfriend, texted me. She was like, "Look, I know you hate losing tourneys in it, so I'm just gonna leave you to it." And I was like, "That's the best thing you'll ever do." And I literally sat, mate, and I put on The Office. I think I was watching The Office at that time. Put on The Office, and I was just sitting there thinking like how much money we could have won, how it would have felt. That was kind of like potentially my big break, and at that time, and probably the first time I'd played in a little while, or the first big tournament I'd played in a little while, and I just remember going downstairs, mate, at like 10:30, 11. I was sitting on my back doorstep, and it because my room was so warm at the time, just that nice cool air like hitting me. I was sitting just thinking like I felt so fucking alive during that shit. Like, and I think that's something as well, man. Like when you're just strolling through life, you don't really have those kind of moments where adrenaline is so fucking pumping, mate. Like, it's just a whole new level of like where your mind is at as a competitor. And when I was sitting there and it was like the air was just hitting my face, I just remember thinking like, fucking hell, man. Like, I actually used to like wait tables and go and sit in lectures for like 3 hours, and I literally just played a video game for whatever the price was, like 25 grand or whatever it was at the time. Just thinking like how alive I felt in that moment, and how like in order to replicate that, it would be highly unlikely to feel that exact same way because every tournament's different. So I'd probably say that's got to be my best moment, man. And the team that I was with, bro, I was with Jaff, Shay, and Porky, and I love all those guys fucking to bits, bro. And to be like playing in that tournament with them as well was awesome, bro, for sure. YEN and stuff, kind of got me scrambled here, Harry. I would say YEN, bro, just the actual. There's a lot of points in my journey, mate. Like when I first founded YEN, I had, I got 3 of my ideal clients right at the very beginning, which made my life a lot easier because, leading into YEN, the one common denominator in my life was Scott, the lad I was speaking about. He had, he was the only person I'd met that thought exactly like me, like with his, like, and he changed my mindset to wanting more. And like anyone outside of that, besides my mum, for example, nobody thought that kind of same way in terms of aspirations. And when I founded YEN and the whole purpose behind it and have access to my mum's network, I still didn't have anyone my age though that was wanted to do the same as me. So when I founded YEN, I got my 3, which I didn't know at the time they were my ideal clients, but they were literally like, I'm still working with them to this day, and that was back in March of this year. Andrew Ellis, Blair Colley, Isabel Lemon. I met those 3 right at the very beginning. They quickly became clients. Blair and Andrew were the first people to ever buy 6 months of a YEN membership up front. I was fucking gobsmacked when they were like offering to pay for 6 months up front, which was just crazy. And then probably growing with them and watching them grow. Like Blair Colley is a property investor. He's literally just secured a £1.3 million property. That's the profits of that, and like those sort of numbers, and just to let you know, Blair Colley's 20 years old, by the way, so anyone's listening to this thinking they're too young or they're too inexperienced or every other, the norm, the stereotype, fuck all that shit, man. Like anyone can do whatever the fuck they want, and like with Blair, like he's proven that. Like he runs Barra's properties with his dad Alex, and how they work together is phenomenal, and Blair's integrity, values, everything that, like all aligns with me. And in terms of Andrew as well, I could rave for days about those three. To be honest, mate. So it's got to be probably the best time within YN's probably got to be right at the very beginning when I met those three, because it made my life so easy, bro. I realised that
Mm.
YN really was going to do what I wanted it to. And to have those kind of ideal clients at the beginning, that's what everyone in business looks for, man. They look for those people
Yeah.
that, feel them with so much passion in what they're delivering, and you see them working for them, and it's like just phenomenal, man. So yeah, it's got to be then, bro. Do you have any questions? Cause I'm going just through
No,
these, innit?
I'm
No, you
mind
chill.
blown. I'm
You
just,
chill.
yeah. Honestly, I think you've had me mind blown from about minute 3, I think. But no, but
uh,
it's so refreshing to speak to someone that's got, like I say, the mindset is incredible. Um,
yeah,
and so refreshing to see that you're not just willing to keep it to yourself and just let yourself get rich, so to speak.
yeah.
You're
We're all
looking
going to
to help.
make it, bro.
Yeah, you're looking to drag every single person with you, and that in its own, is a brilliant trait to have.
No, I appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
Um, okay, so we'll go to the final two questions, and then obviously we've always got the final surprise question
Yeah.
that we'll get into. But who is the best person you've worked with within? We'll go from sort of the Warzone scene,
Yeah.
and sort of the content side of things, because you kind of did dabble into sort of the client base. So
Mm.
who's the best person that you've worked with within the Warzone scene?
I'll go with probably the best person I've competed with, and the best person that I've just kind of got to know throughout
Mm,
Warzone. Best person I got to know throughout Warzone's got to be Sprat. Sprat was the goat that I was watching when I was growing up, and meeting him through Jaff and playing like World Series of Warzone with him, we became we started chatting more regularly, and I started to realise just like how much of a humble, nice guy he was, and also like you kind of see him that portrayed through his content.
mm,
And he is. He's an absolute pleasure to chat with. We even prior to Vanguard, we hopped on a call, and he sat for 2 hours with me, helping me with possible content ideas. How I could move forward in my content, whatever it may be. And then also on the flip side of that, that was like the kind of first like 40 minutes or so, and then the other hour and 20 it was just business. Um, Any ways in which Sprout was offering his help like left, right, and centre. We're working out ways in which we could collaborate, work together,
mm.
and just like a general chat, kind of as a whole. And I think it's got to be Sprat, mate, without a doubt. From the competing side of things, though, that's a sticky one, because a lot of the boys are going to be watching this, mate, and I want to get outed big time. Um, Fuck, man, fuck. Uh, it's got to be my duo Jaff, mate. It's got to be just because Jaff
Yeah.
is like that was the thing, man. Like my editor Scott McNally that I work with, like I remember Scott came to me and he was like, what do you actually look for like within like the players that you play with? And I was like, well, it's like that X factor that you look for. Obviously, like someone that can just pull a play out their arse, make your life
Mm,
easier when the times are needed. But also like attitude, man. Attitude, open mindedness, and also taking it sometimes. Like when I'm competing, man, sometimes I can be a dick. Like just because I always put empathy and kindness at the forefront of everything that I do. But when it comes to competing, it's about in that moment, as long as it's agreed within everyone, and also this is where the important part is the agreement, is that as long as it's agreed within everyone that no matter what, we win at all costs, um, then I can probably come across as a dick sometimes because
mm.
I'll spend a lot of time looking over the areas where we fucked up and how we could progress, how we can move forward, and that is just the attitude of a winner. And for Jaff to be putting up with me for quite that time for a competitive aspect. But he is someone that he's so likable, so it's so easy to work with him, build a relationship with
Mm.
him, compete, so on and so forth. And aye, it's got to be Jaff and then Sprat from the actual content creation side of things. Um,
Okay, so we flip it slightly. So if you could work
mm,
with someone that you haven't worked with, again within sort of the Warzone sort of community, so to
mm,
speak, who would it be and why?
fucking hell. It's got to go over to America, innit? To be
Mm.
honest. Couple of the OGs over in America, mate. I've always said like TP, just because like his attitude, mindset, how he carries himself.
Mm.
He kind of has empathy and kindness at the forefront of everything that he does as well. So TP would got to be up there. Obviously the kind of big dogs, Tim the Tatman, Nick Merch and stuff like that, 100. But the thing is, see with Nick Merch, man, like I genuinely believe through watching his content, like you just kind of get that vibe off people that would probably align quite well. But I know there's
Mm.
a lot of people that would think that, and that's probably why he has such a big following, kind of as a whole. But Nick kind of gave me the green light as well, man. That like the way he built like the M-Fam was just fucking mental, mate. Like even like those M-Fam gauntlets he was hosting, like even when you see like those barbecues and stuff that he has,
Mm.
People flying out from all over the place, bro. Like it's fucking mental, mate. But in terms of who would want to work with, mate, who do I watch? That's usually who I go to. Who do I watch at night, man? Whose streams do I stick on? Joe stream I stick on, it's kind of like not a guilty one. It's just like for pure comedy, bro. Pie face from FIFA.
Yeah.
Pie face from FIFA, bro. He has me creasing, mate. Whenever I stick his stream on at night, man. I mean, he's more chilled now. Like he used to not really be that way. I think it's through his fitness journey and everything that he's kind of achieved within then. But probably last FIFA, I used to watch him quite a bit, and like how much he used to get angry and rage and all that kind of stuff. I used to find it hysterical, mate. But bro, it's got to be TP. I'll go with TP, mate.
Yeah.
TP's the goat, man. And also from the comp side of things, too, man.
Yeah. I think from TP, the amount of stumbles that he's had, the amount of bumps in his road that he's had, and like you say, his mindset hasn't changed throughout. He's always been kind, empathetic towards others, even when his situation himself hasn't always been, such like plain sailing.
Yeah.
But like you say, with Pieface, I mean that's unmatched. Especially like you say, back in the day, the rage compilation, you can see is crazy.
I used to stick his compilations on when I was eating food. Whenever I used to, because back at the beginning, bro, from May 2020 till October, I was doing like 10-hour streams every day, man. So I'd set my stream up while I was eating dinner and stuff, and like I'd always stick on compilations, whatever it may be, like the Scottish COD players or Pie Face Raging or whatever it was. I'd just sit and buckle with it, mate, like every time, man. It's too good, bro. He's an OG. He's an OG.
So to the surprise question and our final question of the evening. If you were stuck on an island, you get to take one person with you that obviously your community can relate to as well, and you get to take 3 items with you. Who would you pick, and what would the 3 items be?
Yeah, we'll make it not easy. I'll make sure, because I would obviously take Bex, but we'll make it so that I can't take my partner. Yeah. Right, cool. Fuck, man. If I took Porky, we'd definitely batter each other, man. No way I could stick on that stay on an island with Paul, bro. That just wouldn't work, mate. I think Paul would vouch for that as well. Jaff would be an easy answer. I'll give a different answer though. Let me think a bit deeply about this one. You got me stumbling, Harry, mate. Jaff and Sprat would be easy answers because they're so easy to get along with. I'm trying to think of one that's a bit more like
like chilled characters and
yeah.
So you gotta think.
Oh, bro, Chunk the fucking hunk, mate. Chunk. Do you follow Chunk?
I don't think so.
Oh, bro, right, cool. Can't wait for the Chunk. But Chunk, if you're watching this, mate, I did try and fucking, black it. Chunk is so fucking funny, mate. If you've not watched Chunk, mate, like, he's the one I stick on at night.
You're gonna have to link with this. You're gonna have to link.
Oh, need to, bro. Some of his Borat impression, just ask him to do a Borat impression, mate. He'll have you in stitches, bro. He's an absolute comedian, man. I've said for time, bro, he should be in acting, man. His impressions and stuff are nuts. Fuck, man. Let me go and let me load up my Twitch following, bro, then I'll be able to tell you straight away, mate, what's happening. Shane Sweeney would be a good one. Quicker, bro. Shay would be good to chill on an island with. I reckon he'd have some serious power, man, but he'd probably get bored and just, I don't know.
This is the thing, you've got to think of someone that you're not going to drive insane, like someone that's not, like you say, Porky. If you two are fighting each other, like that just ain't going to work.
Because I was going to say Lou, and I thought me and Lou kind of like some serious winning mentality, man. So it'd be like win at all costs, but at that time, like what would winning be? Do you know what I mean? We're going to mean get
On an
off an
island.
island, or would it be like scrapping each other, man? Fuck, man, that's a hard question, you know, bro. I don't want to go with easy. I'd go with Chunk, mate. Honestly, Chunk would be absolute comedy, and he'd be the easiest one. I'll link his stream. I'll link anyone that needs his link, because Chunk is, in terms of comedy, picking you up, attitude. He's very respectful as well, man. Like he doesn't. I teamed with him back like in the competitive days as well, so that was before I like had worked on my mindset a lot, so I didn't necessarily have empathy and kindness at the forefront all the time, and I maybe was like a bit of a dick probably to team with, and that's something I'll happily hold my hands up to. And Chunk was very respectful. We worked really well together, and to be honest, bro, I'd happily, because he just hit me a Borat impression, mate, and I'd be sound. I'd be sitting creasing, man. What was the other part of the question? 3 things.
So yeah, you got to take 3 things.
I take my setup. That's one. Take my setup. Nah, because that's just 2 things in one, bro. I take my phone if there was signal. You know,
Yeah, I'll let you have a bit of signal.
Right, cool. I take my phone just the signal. I take Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. You know, I take that book with me because it just changed my life. So I'd probably take that book with me. And then what's another thing, bro? Well, if I could just take my whole setup, mate, I'd be chilling on that island, you know, mate. As long as I didn't freeze to death, man, I'd be fucking jamming, man. Sitting with a dual PC setup, mate. Live streaming Warzone from a fucking stranded island. I'd have fucking Chunk coming in the background, but I'd be jamming. I'd be jamming.
Exactly. So we're gonna let you take your setup, your phone, and obviously your book as well. I think that's pretty. I mean, that's a pretty good island if you ask me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you got the, like you say, you got the background. You know, you're set up for life.
Yep. Crazy background, bro. I'd be chilling, man. I'd be sorted, mate. People think my backdrop's edited on my green screen, man, but it wouldn't be. It'd just be me, man. I'd be kitted.
And then Chunk just chilling in the background, you know, giving it Borat.
Yeah.
Happy days.
1,000,000%, bro.
Thank you again so much for coming on. Like I said, my mind has been absolutely boggled. I probably won't sleep tonight, but no, honestly, it has been an absolute pleasure. What I'll do is, like I say, it will be uploaded onto multiple socials. Guys, wherever you're watching this, make sure you go give John some love. I'll put all of his links, especially on to YouTube, where the majority of you guys will see this. Go show some love. Go follow all of his networks. Get yourselves involved. It may change your lives. And if you're watching this and it's boggled me as much as it has, like I say, go show the love. Again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No worries at all, Harry, bro. Thanks for having me.
Catch us all in a bit.